Hey guys, it's me, Vix Podfic, back at it with another fic, 2 in 1 day. I'm really feeding you guys. Okay, no, I'm doing this because I'm a thug. Yeah, and I messed up. Anyways, on the last one I did for this series, I accidentally put the name on the title screen. That was for this fic that I'm about to do instead of for the other fic. So it might look the same, but it's okay. Let's get into it. This is Becoming Nobody by Knife Can't Spell. Yes. There are no trigger warnings, I don't think. Anyways, let's get into the summary. The treatment of Japan's quirkless population isn't that bad. I mean, the official documents say that quirkless people don't even exist. TLDR, Izuku Midoriya doesn't exist. Nobody is a good information broker despite that. And that's the summary. Yeah, this is a prequel to the last fic, I guess. By the way, guys, I actually don't know the difference between a prequel and a sequel. I know one is before and one is after. Okay, never mind. I'll just search it up. I'm sorry, guys. Never mind, let's get into it. Izuku Midoriya was quirkless. Izuku Midoriya did not exist. Not according to the government, who deleted most of his files the moment he turned 15. The end of middle school, not that he got the chance to finish. His records had mysteriously vanished a year before they were officially deleted. He spent that year walking around, trying to continue his education through the library books and online courses. So, Izuku Midoriya was nobody. He didn't exist, and he didn't want to. Inko was concerned. Concerned in a way he never got used to. Acting like he was glass, then ignoring him when he mentioned bullying. He was sure she loved him. She just didn't understand. Not really. Meeting All Might while on a walk was amazing. Talking to him, less so. Izuku Midoriya was not a hero. Izuku Midoriya would never be a hero. All Might reassured him of that, and Izuku agreed, reluctantly. By the time he found a way out of the tall building, it was dark, and his phone was full of missed calls, all from his mother. Izuku Midoriya walked home, finding an empty apartment. Inko was probably at the police station, frantic by now. Izuku Midoriya packed a bag, tucked away some money, and left. Izuku Midoriya was missing for 2 days before declared legally dead. If he had been considered legally alive before, and the case closed. Izuku spent those 2 days missing walking, alleys and streets and dirty benches. He eventually stopped on a dirty beach, sleeping curled in most his hoodies and against scrap metal. Weirdly, he felt at ease among the materials that others claimed were junk, although a couple hours of looking around proved that most of the materials weren't useless junk. Still semi-functioning computers and laptops and phones, washing machines and dryers and TVs. Izuku never knew much about technology before, but the past year of walking and library visits gave him enough basic knowledge to gather some of the useful junk. More library visits and searching online led to the eventual creation of a mostly functioning laptop. It worked. It even connected to the Wi-Fi when he took it to an internet cafe. Izuku kept researching. Support items, quirk analysis, body language, information gathering, information brokers. That caught his attention. He had already set up some links to hopeful support students, selling pieces of material cheaper than they could get commercially, saving money and buying only what he needed. Information brokering wasn't that heroic, although underground heroes used them plenty to get the information they needed. Villains too. using them to establish teams and get weapons. Izuku Midoriya considered it. He was good at getting information, understanding people, quirks, puzzles. You didn't need a quirk for that. And he was good at it. So he decided if he couldn't be a hero, he could always help them. Besides, the job apparently paid well, and he could do with the money. A 2-room apartment was difficult to buy without paperwork proving your identity, which is why an 18-year-old student by the name Miriko Akito now owned a 2-bedroom apartment within half an hour travel of UA and the red light zone, a split between dreams and reality, the perfect middle ground. Izuku, now Miriko Akito, according to his paperwork, had a minor emotion reading quirk, which was really the work of years learning body language, a skill he quickly realized was useful for things other than avoiding Bakugo when he was angry, and feeling guilty about his mother's own emotions. Izuku Midoriya was doing well, all things considered. The false identity was too easy to obtain, calling in favors from some of his slowly growing network, putting aside money for food and furniture, even taking a part-time American university degree to keep up on his education. Not to mention his new hobbies of martial arts and parkour, both skills he'd learned from older information brokers that had spent his former years a hero. Life was good. Izuku continued to learn hacking and building technology, collecting information and selling it on, keeping track of favors and people. Within a few months, he was a relatively well-known broker, briefly meeting other brokers from nearby areas, and promptly claiming his chosen area. Being a nobody was useful. He could listen to people chatter about secrets they shouldn't have, could buy knowledge from loose-lipped rats, could hack records with ease. He could jump rooftops like the city was a playground, could put an opponent to the ground like child's play, could threaten enemies by knowing too much. Midoriya Izuku died. Nobody thrived. The news was fast. A day after, and the USJ attack was broadcast around Japan. Nobody saw the news, wrote down the name, and continued to work. He had long since learnt about All for One, having traced the little knowledge All Might gave him back to the dawn of quirks, and back again. Nobody worked in the underground, in the shadows, where the villains lived. One wrong move could alert All for One of his interest, could lead to an untimely death. He shivered, pulling up a new tab, idly scrolling through Discord messages, pulling aside some minimal information from the public chatter. There were a few profiles of UA students discussing what happened, and another 1A student active, but only sending short, simple messages. The class survived, thanks to luck, and no thanks to All Might. Nobody closed the app, turning back to his research. Content, the new heroes were doing well. 1A was going to be great heroes. Miriko Akito bought tickets to the sports festival. Money was good, and the seats were decent. He still recorded the live version, 4 notes later on, and to rewatch the other years. Nobody watched, writing coded notes on the quirks and students, smiling at the deadpan announcement from Eraserhead. Eraserhead was a good hero. Underground, one nobody hadn't interacted with yet. He fought partially quirkless, and Izuku Midoriya would have loved him. The sports festival ended dramatically, with Bakugo in chains and Todoroki standing in second place. Nobody was long gone. Already on the train to Hosu. He had business. Tenya Ida was an idiot, nobody decided. Stain was foolish and hypocritical. He would no longer be a problem. Tensei Ida sent his thanks for that. People were starting to talk about the mysterious information broker, about the one who took down Stain, who jumped roofs and fought violently. Nobody was happy enough. If they feared him, they wouldn't even think he was quirkless. He'd fight tooth and claw before admitting that to anyone again. The Discord server was active with news. New villains, new heroes, something happening with the Shiahasaki. Nobody scrolled through messages, sending some DMs to hero students on their quirks, offering advice. One in particular, Kaminari Denki, had a very interesting quirk, but he was clearly using it in a way that wasn't working, trying to be a long-range fighter when he'd do so much better as a short-range brawler, or even a support. A few more messages, these on his burners. A tip from a friend about the potential of Yue asking for his help. That makes nobody pause. Yue? Asking for his help? Probably about the League of Villains. They've become troublesome. Nobody had folders on the group, of course. Some minor blackmail and more debating led to a very useful friend who currently spends his days waiting for the League to call him in for their move. Toya Todoroki, or Dabi, was very useful. Nobody appreciated the man, who, despite his uncaring demeanor, still checked in on the boy, sending messages whenever he could. Dabi was working on helping another League member, while still remaining subtle, a blood-based quirk. They were useful and interesting, but their bloodlust was less appealing to the public. Nobody shook his head, focusing back on the problem at hand, Yue. He uploaded the files he had onto a USB stick, hesitating before adding the contact details to a new burner, too. It was likely Eraserhead who would be sent to find him, as he had the most links to the underground. Nobody had figured out the nearby Hero Patrol routes a few months ago. After one too many close calls during meeting and information trades. With all this information, he checked the time and settled in to wait. No point in waiting in the cold when Eraserhead didn't even patrol for another 3 hours. 10 minutes. If Eraserhead was on time. Nobody kicked his legs, looking down at the few stragglers on the dark street. The ones keeping to the flickering lights and glancing around with unease. The ones sticking to the shadows, glaring at people with anticipation. The ones sitting in corners, huddled up, ignoring everyone, but still keeping a steady eye on everything. 5 minutes. Nobody tapped the wall, fiddled with his masks, and readjusted the hood. Green eyes in the little light reaching past the smooth porcelain. The mask that now started to inspire respect and sometimes fear. 2 minutes. Nobody started passing the USB between his hands, anxiety thrumming under his skin. Was his information right? Is this what they wanted? Was this the right choice? He glared down at the chipping black paint covering the telltale red of a quirkless's shoe. 1 minute. Nobody glanced across the horizon, chewing his lip even after the taste of iron fills his mouth. Nobody stills and smiles. Eraserhead watches and joins nobody, sitting on the edge of something new. Oh my god. I hope you guys enjoyed. That was Becoming Nobody. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Yes. This is my second fic of today. Wow. And now I'm gonna have to edit it. Good luck for me with that, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you go leave a kudos to the original author. And, maybe leave a little likey or a little subscribey. You can always undo it later, but please, bro, I need this. I need this. Oh my god, and thank you guys for 300 followers. 300 followers? That's a pretty big number. That's 300 people. Imagine 300 people in a room right now. That's what I'm doing, and I'm just imagining. 300 people is a lot of people. That, like, yeah, that's at least a couple people. Am I right? Okay, bye, guys.